Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to our last fantasy football week of 2014. I'm your host, Jim Sella. I'm in studio with Jay Dash, Big Easy, and Jeff Keel. I want to thank everyone for tuning into the spread. Dash, you put in a whole lot of work on this fantasy football for the whole season. I want to say thank you. I think the fans thank you. I'm sure you helped somebody out.
It was well done.
Yeah, I just can't wait for this one to end.
That's all you got to get through.
Me too, though.
One more week.
But
T1.
it is championship week for whoever's still playing.
Not Johnny Parlay.
Yeah, not Johnny Parlay. Let's move on to Tier 1 quarterbacks here.
Word.
Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton Manning.
Good, and good.
Yeah, as you can see, Brady and Luck are not in there, but we'll get to them in a minute. Tier 2, Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson.
See, I think I would rather have Cam Newton in Tier 2 than Matt Ryan, but we all know that I hate Matt Ryan.
Yeah, he's been putting together a pretty decent fantasy season, though, and if you've been with him thus far, you're going to keep rolling with him. Tier 3, Tony Romo, Eli Manning, and Big Ben.
I think Big Ben has a big week, not just because I'm a Yinzer, but Pittsburgh needs him to if they want to win the division. Cincinnati's good against the run. They are able to slow Le'Veon Bell down just a little bit. Ben has 1 touchdown pass over his last 2 games, but he has 350 yards and 3 TDs in Week 14 against Cincinnati. It's going to be another big week. He's getting that 5,000 yards, just like Jeff Keel said.
Tony Romo's tough to call because he has the best matchup of all at Washington. They led up to the most of fantasy quarterbacks. He has 3 TDs or more in 5 of his last 6 games and 2 or more TDs in 10 of his last 12. So he's playing very well. But the only problem is
he's a choke
how motivated are they to win this game? They could take him out at halftime. But I'm still sticking with him. I say he has a big half. If that's all he plays, I'm going with Tony Romo.
How about Eli Manning, J-Dash? 641 yards, 6 touchdowns over the last 2 games.
Yep.
Although, I mean, that's got to concern you how he didn't throw for that touchdown in Philly against Week 6.
Yeah, he looked very bad against Philly earlier this season. But like you said, he's been playing well over his past 2 games. The Giants as a whole look better. The defense and the offense. He got ODB out there now, Big Baby Jesus.
Dirt McGirt.
Great matchup. Philadelphia can't stop the run or the pass. I think Eli has a good game this week.
He's garbage.
Tier 4, Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, and Mark Sanchez.
I said it in the pick show. I think Newton's going to have a big week against Atlanta. They give up the 13th most points to fantasy quarterbacks. Newton threw for a TD and had 63 yards rushing and added another touchdown with his legs. He had 292 yards and 2 touchdowns against Atlanta in Week 11. I know his back's a little bad, but they give him something for that before the game, so he's not even feeling that, and this is for the division. I just think Newton's a better quarterback than Matt Ryan.
In most years, I would say yes, but definitely he hasn't been this year. Cam Newton has definitely had a down year. He's been a bust almost in terms of fantasy, but I do expect him to have a good game here. Tom Brady, he may not even play. New England's not motivated at all. They already have the number 1 seed wrapped up. This is a tough matchup, but if he does play, you got to keep an eye out. Listen,
He did nothing
right.
last week. He did nothing last week for fantasy owners that needed him to do something.
Okay, well, nobody does it every game besides Antonio Brown in any position.
If I have Tom Brady, I'm not. This is the fantasy Super Bowl. I'm sitting him.
Well, you're just ticked off that you dropped him earlier in the season.
No,
but listen,
he
you do gotta listen the whole way up until game time. See if he's gonna start even, and even then, if you wanted to go with someone like Mark Sanchez, Jay Cutler, Stafford, someone like that, I wouldn't blame you because it is a tough call. Same with Andrew Luck. Coach Pagano said all the starters are going to play because they looked like garbage last week. They want to get the offense moving. But if they do start moving, put up some points, are they going to take Andrew Luck out? That's the question. But I still go with him. I think he's going to at least play the first half. You know, there isn't much under Tier 4 here.
What about our boy Teddy Bridgewater going against Chicago? They give up the 2nd most points to fantasy quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's why I have him here.
5 straight solid fantasy performances, 4 multi-TD games, and 2 300-plus yard passing games in that span.
I do like Bridgewater in this matchup. Chicago's defense has struggled this year. You know, and
Teddy B, I'll take him over Tony Romo all day.
Tier 5, Ryan Tannehill, Phillip Rivers, Jay Cutler, and Matt Stafford.
Rivers has that bulging disc, 1 or 2 bulging discs in his back, but he's still going to play because their playoff hopes are on the line. Kansas City starting Chase Daniels, I believe.
Yeah.
So they have a better chance at winning now, especially with Rivers at the helm. Kansas City only gives up the 4th fewest points to fantasy quarterbacks, though. Rivers had, 356 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 picks last week at San Francisco. But he had 1 touchdown or less in 5 of his previous 6 games and 7 touchdowns in his last 2 road games combined.
Matt Stafford, he's been a giant letdown this season, probably the biggest bust of all the quarterbacks. We expected this to be a high-flying offense, and it just hasn't panned out.
They need to get Gordon Bombay to teach him the flying V. Does that work in football?
How about the Statue of
I don't
Liberty?
think so.
The annexation of Puerto Rico.
Tier 6, the gingerbread man, Andy Dalton, RG3, Josh McCown, and Colin Kaepernick.
RGTC.
As far as Andy Dalton, you gotta, obviously.
He's going to throw for 300 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4 picks.
Let's hope.
Ike Teasel. Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
That's all right. I couldn't remember that.
Hey, he had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns against Pittsburgh in Week 14, but he had just 176 yards passing or less in 3 of his last 4 games and hasn't thrown for 2 TDs in back-to-back games since Weeks 5 and 6. So this has been a guy that's been just having a bad year like we pretty much expected. The only good thing about this is Pittsburgh's defense lets up a lot of passing
He
yards.
got sent home early from practice Christmas Eve, I think it was.
Flu.
Yeah, he's not feeling well, so don't expect Andy Dalton to be at the top of his game.
Colin Kaepernick had a huge week last week, but it all came on the ground, and there's no way you can expect that to happen again. I say Colin Kaepernick, garbage.
Yeah, I've never been a Colin Kaepernick fan.
Beat nuts.
Other
Tiers-
than his
Go ahead.
legs, he's worthless.
Tier 7, Kyle Orton, Derek Carr, Joe
Alex
Flacco.
Smith is out, right?
Yeah.
Cut it out. Quit it.
Kyle Orton.
Okay, Uncle Joey or whatever
Tell
your
me
name is.
a little
Joey
bit about
Gladstone.
Kyle Orton. What has Kyle Orton got to play for this Sunday?
Not much.
Pride.
But New England, they don't need to win. Maybe they sit some players on defense.
Can
Could
Buffalo
be an easy
sneak
day
in?
for Kyle Orton. Buffalo, yeah, I don't think they are eliminated yet.
See, they got a lot to play for, Easy.
No, they're out.
They are?
Respect.
I only think it's Houston, Baltimore, and Kansas City, San
San
Diego.
Diego.
That's it.
Okay.
San Diego win. Yeah. So they're out of it too.
It's all right. You still want to beat a hated division rival.
And Flacco, they have a possibility that they can win. So I don't
He's
know.
going
I
up
like
against
Flacco
some dude I never
2-7.
even heard of.
If he ever can come back from a pitiful performance from last week,
Oh, so
you
bad.
might as well throw up a wild card and put him in if you have to.
All right, Tier 8, Sean Hill, Chase Daniel, Connor Shaw, Charlie Whitehurst, Case Keenum.
If you don't know who any of these guys are, fans, don't feel bad because I don't even know who some of these guys are.
Hey, you know what, though? Connor Shaw at Baltimore, yeah, it's a tough matchup when you just look at Baltimore. But remember, they are terrible against the pass, so he could have a lot of yardage at least.
Blake Bortles, let's see what you
Oh, yeah.
have.
Yeah, Geno Smith, Blake Bortles, and Ryan Lindley, there's no way in hell.
Nothing.
Would you play any of them?
Well, you are down with Jacksonville. They're going to have to score points to win that game, right?
That doesn't mean I'm playing Blake Bortles.
Okay. Well, I said it. It's whatever. It was a great fantasy season. It was fun.
What about our tight ends, our Tier 1 elite? Jimmy Graham, Rob Gronkowski, and Greg Olson.
Yeah, again, Rob Gronkowski. Is he going to play? You have to keep a close eye up until game time, see if they're going to play him. This is a guy I definitely would play, even if it is for a quarter or two.
He's huge. He picks up strippers with both arms.
Tier 2, Antonio Gates, Martellus Bennett, and Julius Thomas.
Gates, you did parlay well last week, but it wasn't good enough.
Julius Thomas, he's only had 3 catches for 63 yards over his last 2 games, but again,
So he's going to blow up this week.
he could blow up, but yeah, Peyton Manning's been playing bad. You got to stick with Julius Thomas, though. Tier 3, Kobe Fleener, Jason Witten, Delaney Walker, Michael Rivera, and Charles Clay.
Charles Clay had a good week last week, right? 6
Yeah.
catches,
That was
114 yards. He had 17 targets over the last 2 games.
Big week.
Yeah, that's why I have him up here. And if you wanted to play him over someone like Fleener or Witten, I wouldn't blame you. Both of them have good matchups, but are they going to play the whole game? They really don't need to.
It's like how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. The world may never know.
Tier 4, Zach Ertz, Jermaine Gresham, Jordan Cameron, Jordan Reed, and Travis Kelce.
I think Kelsey might have something wrong with one of his organs too, like Alex Smith after Tuitt knocked him out. That was an awesome hit.
How about Zach Ertz coming out of nowhere? He had 18 targets last week. 15 catches, 115 yards, and that's after 8 targets over his previous 3 games.
I told you he bought Mark Sanchez a headband, and now they're BFFs, so he only throws him the football.
Jermaine Gresham, you're going to be garbage. I don't want to see anything from you, so that's it.
I think Ryan Shazier has a big week.
Yeah,
Comes up with a big play to help
you're
us
done
win
Gresham.
this game.
I actually like Gresham in this matchup.
He's hurt. I think he's hurt.
I think A.J. Green is a little bit banged up.
Yeah.
Their whole offense is banged up. Our defense is going to prey on that and get us some turnovers.
Tier 5, Heath Miller, Kyle Rudolph, who is doubtful. He's expected to miss this game. It's a great matchup. Check the whole way up until game time because I do like that play if he goes.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Then Larry Donnell and Scott Chandler.
I guess
retired.
my
Rudolph
Christmas
ain't doing
nicknames
nothing.
are over, right?
Yeah, for
No, good.
yeah,
You
no.
still, it's Christmas was yesterday, man.
Rudolph's beat.
Rudolph beat. Heath Miller going up against Cincinnati is a tough play, although I love my boy Heath. He's not putting up huge points this year in fantasy football. He's doing all right. He has double-digit points in PPR in 4 of his last 5 games with
PPR.
35 targets in that span. He did score against them a few weeks ago, but he only had 1 catch for 1 yard. So it was 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown, then block.
Heath Miller's been playing a lot better
I was gonna
recently.
say, I like Heath Miller in this matchup also. I think if Ben has a big game, I think Heath does also. You know, he's elite at running those play actions over the middle.
We're also going to need him to help pass block against that defensive line.
Tier 6, Jared Cook, Owen Daniels, and Dwayne Allen.
Dwayne Allen.
See, Jared Cook's
Anybody going against Tennessee is going to put up points. Allen's been playing hurt in Indy. They don't have a lot to play for, so he might be limited. But
Yeah, that's the thing.
Tennessee's terrible. So if he does play for an extended period of time, he'll probably get some points.
Yeah, he could have a big game, but the problem is he's already hurt. They have nothing to play for. I really think this is one of the guys that isn't going to see much playing time. Tier 7, Tim Wright, Vernon Davis, and Mercedes Lewis.
Jeff, what do you think of Tim Wright? I keep saying every week that teams are going to try to shut down Gronkowski, and Wright's a good enough second tight end to take advantage of the mismatch since they're focusing on Gronkowski.
It very well could be, you know. I mean, if he can get himself open and Tom Brady or whoever plays quarterback sees him, you know, he's a guy that could have a big game.
Who is their backup now that they traded Ryan Mallett? Jimmy Garoppolo. I think it's Garofalo, but
Janine Garofalo.
Tim Wright could actually see some extended playing time this week because, like we said, New England may end up sitting some of their players. If Gronkowski doesn't play the whole game, Tim Wright would be the guy to step in.
Yep.
But
he hasn't murdered anybody yet, so I'm pretty sure he'll be allowed to play.
I think Belichick, he's one of those guys that just keeps his foot on the gas. He's not really a guy that sits anybody.
How about Vernon Davis? You think he could show up this week?
Wait, who? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Who?
VD.
He has a great matchup this week. Arizona, that's the one thing they do let up is points to the tight ends. They let up the 3rd most this season.
God knows their
He's
receivers
been
didn't catch
so
the
bad,
ball.
though. He was actually shut out last week. He is garbage.
Believe it.
He is a bust.
Defenses, I have Dallas at Washington, Minnesota versus Chicago, Indy at Tennessee, Jacksonville at Houston, and Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati for the 5 sleepers.
You don't have the same defenses going against each other. Is that because you knew Easy was going to be here today?
Oh, I thought Hit a skipped.
Well, I do need to skip because these defenses are garbage. You
These are
said Dallas is nothing to play for, so their scrubs are going to be in and probably let up 30.
Against the Washington Redskins.
Chicago
Yeah.
has what? Is Cutler back in at quarterback?
Cutler is back
He's
in.
garbage. Minnesota's defense is good. They got 7 sacks,
Well,
3
I do like
turnovers, and 3
Minnesota's defense
touchdowns in their last
big
2
time.
home games.
Yeah. Minnesota's defense is playing good. Dallas's defense has been playing good. Even if it is a couple backups that show up in the game, remember, it's Washington. They can't figure anything out right now.
Jay Gruden's a horrible coach.
Indy, they play at Tennessee. Like I said, anybody that plays Tennessee is a good matchup. I like Jacksonville this week. They've actually been playing better the second half of the season. And I expect that to keep going. Case Keenum, a quarterback. How can you not like a defense going up against Case Keenum? And Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati. Pittsburgh had a good week last week. 6 sacks, and they had 3 sacks and 2 turnovers versus Cincinnati in week 14. They haven't been letting up a lot of points recently. I think Pittsburgh can be a good defense this week.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I love Cameron Hayward up there up front, man. He's him and Stephon Tuitt. You know,
They're
those
going to be a
guys.
force.
Yeah, those guys keep their
about
motors
Cam
going,
Thomas?
frees up those
Remember that guy?
linebackers. You know,
He's garbage.
Pittsburgh's a defense to deal with and reckon with.
I don't know if they're a
Up
defense
front.
to reckon with, but they're on their way, maybe.
Good luck, everyone.
Well, that wraps up our quarterback, tight end, and defenses for Week 17, the final one of 2014. I want to thank all you fantasy football fans who stuck with us through the whole season. Hopefully we helped you out. If you're still in your championship game, good luck. You can keep following us on Twitter through the offseason at bet_the_spread. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. As it gets closer to the next year, we'll be putting out, fantasy sleepers and maybe some rankings or, preseason rankings before everything starts. So just keep looking out. Peace.